airport and wave by. He speaks at major colleges and universities around the world. He speaks at corporations around the world, and then he might speak at a church. He holds down the west side of 20 in the Word of Faith, and a great ministry over there, great people. You see him on television ministering, just full of wisdom. And what makes me mad about he's very quiet. You know, I have to push him, and then I like to take him to meetings with me because he'll sit up there at the meeting. He won't say much until you push his button, and he's my secret weapon. So I'll sit there, and I know Dale got something, but I ain't going to release him until the right time. And then when I look at him and say, all right, Bishop, what you got to say? He go to town, and I like, and then I just like. I know how to open it, but this is a closer here, right here, that I want you to put your hands together and receive a great pastor, great prophet, great businessman, and my great friend, Bishop Dale Bronner.
Oh, you too can. Please be seated. It's I am glad, I've had a personal challenge to try to develop the bishop's lexicon to be able to give you guys some grandiloquent sesquipedalia. And, the other day we were in a meeting and he used the word profundity. I said, you go, Bishop, go, Bishop, go. And so, because he's learned one or two big words now, I don't feel any need to go there with you today. And he asked me afterwards why I didn't use any big words, because I was blown away that he had used the word profundity. I didn't want to choke the audience, I want to commend you and celebrate you for the investment that you have made in yourself to be here yesterday and today. It really tells me that there is something that is incredibly exceptional about you. And oftentimes they are just the little things that you will do that are extra, that make you extraordinary. You'll be surprised, just the little extra makes you extraordinary. When you will look and see a need and do a little more than what the average person will do, it will make you exceptional. Mediocrity never stands out. Nobody wants to go to a mediocre restaurant and order a mediocre meal and just have, a mediocre beverage. You want something that becomes memorable. And it's what you do differently that actually makes you different. And so I pray that you've had some different things that have stimulated your mind about some things. And I know that you probably are going to need to decompress after a while, because you've been inundated with so much incredible information. But I pray that you have been writing it down. If you think it, ink it. A short pencil is worth more than a long memory. So you write it down. Truth that is not rehearsed is soon forgotten. And so you have to be able to put it down. You can't even get a handle on certain things. You've had a million ideas going around, bouncing around in your mind. And you don't realize that you can't get a handle on it until you get it out of the mind and on the paper. My brother, we've got one of our big hair shows that's coming up. We'll have probably 70,000 beauticians and barbers from around the world converging on Atlanta this month, the third weekend in this month. We've not just started that business. We've been doing that for 65 years. And so my brother called me one day, and he was we were in the midst of a meeting. When leaders do things, you bear a different brunt of responsibility. You know, when you plan a party, you have a party at your house, the party is not for you to enjoy yourself. It's for your guests to enjoy themselves. And as your guests come in and they are enjoying themselves, you know, you're trying to make sure that everybody's got beverage and something to eat and that the music is okay and that things are clean. So you've gone through a great deal of trouble. It's not for you. You're glad when it's over and when they leave your house. you know, that's a tremendous burden. So because we are the host of the show, my brother was having trouble sleeping. Different things were going on in his mind. This is my older brother. But you know, maturity doesn't come with age. I know some old fools to prove that. I really do. So my older brother calls his younger brother, calls me, and he says, I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm like, join the club. But here's the thing that I gave him, because at nighttime, and see, he'd call me late one night, and I'm like, what in the world are you doing up right now? And I told him, I said, get a pad, put it by your bedside, write down everything that is on your mind right now. I said, the principle is on the paper, out of the mind. You're wrestling with this stuff in your mind. You can't get a handle on it while it's bouncing around. 1,000 different things of what you need to do are bouncing around on your mind. I would see my daddy do that. My dad would be up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning every morning. I was up at 3 o'clock this morning. And you know, it's almost make me feel now like I'm walking in my daddy's footsteps. You know, but I slept like a log, though, I'm telling you. I'm not telling you something that I'm thinking about. I'm just telling you, you put it on the paper, you get it out of your mind, then you can see what you're dealing with. You can't organize your life in your mind. You have to put it and put it in front of you. Most people can't get a hold of their budgets, their finances, until you put it on paper and see what's coming in and see what's going out. You know, you can have money and you can say, well, I don't know where in the world my money went. If you write it down, you'll see where it went. Oh, there is always a paper trail. Whether it's electronic or whatever, there is always a trail. Just follow the money trail. You will find out where it went. You really will. But what budgeting does, budgeting tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And that's what we have to do. We have to be able to tell it where to go. There's something about the top 1% of people. It's not a measurement of comparison of wealth or ability. The top 1%, what distinguishes the top 1%? What distinguishes the top 1% of all of the earners, top 1% of people in this country? It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with gender. And to a large degree, it has nothing to do with education. Some folks are looking at me like, well, what in the world is it? It's what you've heard about and what you will hear about. It's about mindset. All of the top 1% earners have certain things that are in common in their mindset. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. Now, it's a mindset, not waffling. Double-minded man is unstable in all of the way. When your mind is set, there's an incredible focus that you have. Focus produces power. It produces intensity in your life. It really does. You got to know what you're going after. You know that one man, he was driving down the road in his Mercedes, got distracted, fumbling around with his cell phone, hit the median wall, and nearly killed his fool self. And here, the paramedics came, and they get him out of the car and put him on a gurney, and the back door to the ambulance is open, and he's looking out from the gurney at his Mercedes. And he says, oh, my God, my Mercedes, my Mercedes. Start whining because his Mercedes had been damaged in the accident. And by this time, one of the paramedics tapped him on the shoulder. He said, sir, you've got greater problems than your Mercedes that's damaged. And he pointed on the wall. His left arm had been severed and was on the side of the road. He looked at his severed arm and said, My Rolex, my Rolex. Did you know that there are some people that their values are in the wrong place? Touch your neighbor, say, I've met that person, I've met that person. And I will tell you this, the top 1% earner folks, they have a balance in the areas of health and relationships. Those two areas, health and relationships. Health and relationships. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have if your health is shot. And you know how most young people, we expend our health trying to get our wealth. Then we get a certain age and then we have to spend all of our wealth trying to regain our health. It's the paradox of life. But I don't know whether you know it or not, but a lot of folks with money, they live a long time because they take care of their health. They take care of their health. And I had a relative last year that won $116 million in the lottery. I just had dinner with him last week. And he said this to me. He said, he started working out now. And he has improved his diet in an incredible way because he wants to live a long time. But they really measure those two areas. They measure those two areas, their health and their relationships, their health and their relationships, their health and their relationships. Because most people, when they're building wealth, they have no consideration what a divorce will do to your finances. It will jack up your retirement plan. It really will. It'll hijack it. It really will. So there's a reason that these guys take care of their health and their relationships, their health and relationships. I've got 4 daughters. I had to explain to my daughters, I said, look, sweetie, you can marry more money in a minute than you can make in a lifetime. But I've always told my girls, I said, you don't marry money, you marry character. I said, if you got character, you can get the money. If they've got the character, they can get some money. But if they've got money and no character, the money won't stay. Are you listening? And so there's something about this mindset and what you are doing, what you're doing right now. There are certain things, if something is going to turn in a family, it's got to turn with one person in the family that says, I'll be the one that'll be the lamb for this family that'll turn things around. Because, if you're honest with yourself, some folks in your family that are crazy and don't know how to handle money. And listen, if they don't know how to handle money, then, the responsible person who does know how to handle money, then they make you feel obligated to try to help them, and you get tired of them and have to ignore their phone calls and, because they done messed up all of that stuff and they're trying to mess up yours. And I always deal with this principle. I live by principle. When you live by principle, 99% of your decisions are already made. Now here's the principle. You never beg for that which you have the power to earn. Don't let people come to you and play you like that. Never beg for that which you have the power to earn. Never beg for that which you have the power to earn. You take your time and you let people give them an opportunity. I watched my daddy do that. My daddy wouldn't just give folks stuff. And so he became a multimillionaire, but he wouldn't give his own children stuff. When I wanted money, I had to deliver newspapers every morning before I went to school. That's how I got my money. And I had to go and collect my money. I was learning business, and then every summer I worked in the business full time. Me and all of my brothers. My dad had 6 sons. And he started his family when he was 40 years old. So my dad was nearly 50 when I was born. I'm number 4 out of 6. And that ought to let you know that that you're never too old to be what you could have been. I mean, I'm not even the age yet that my daddy was when I was born. I'm not even the age. And then he had my younger brother when he was 55. He had my baby brother when he was 60 years old. But somehow, and a lot of people don't know this, but my dad had been married before to a woman, and he divorced her because something on the inside of him felt that he was called to be a father, and she couldn't have children. And so he divorced her, and he met my mother because he couldn't marry her any sooner because she was still in elementary school. You know? He was 20 years her senior, you know. So mama was like our sister, you know, we had fun with mama, you know. But mama gave him 6 sons. Gave him 6 sons in nearly 40 years of marriage. And a wonderful relationship. Blessed my life incredibly. One of the most important things is about being in the right atmosphere, because everything happens in an atmosphere. Everything happens in an atmosphere. When you think about the fact that when God even created Adam and Eve, he put them in a garden where everything around them was growing. Everything around them was not only growing, it was reproducing. There was fruit that was there. Every place they looked, vines growing, grapes, watermelon, peaches, everything was producing and reproducing. They saw foliage, green foliage, buds budding forth. They saw shoots coming up from the ground. Everything was producing. They put you in an atmosphere. Everything happens in an atmosphere. Everything happens in an atmosphere. When I was growing up, I didn't understand why my daddy, when we were just really small, my daddy would take me to meetings with him, sitting in attorney meetings, so that I could become comfortable in the atmosphere. You have to learn how to get comfortable in an atmosphere. And it really changes you in an incredible way just to get comfortable in the atmosphere. And so I had to get comfortable in the atmosphere. I know what it's like to be in a room with 100 other black millionaires. I got comfortable in that atmosphere. I got comfortable in the atmosphere. Everything happens in an atmosphere. And the reason that I'm saying that to you, I'm so glad that you're here and that there's an interest, a hunger on the inside of you to get knowledge, the wealth of knowledge, before you get the virtue of your wealth that will come into your life, because you are a pivotal person for your family. You see, I have to tell people sometimes very lightheartedly that I got my money the old-fashioned way. I inherited it. But let me just say this to you. My great-grandfather, back in the 1800s, owned a chemical company in South Georgia. A lot of folks don't know that. My oldest brother's a chemist. See, this stuff was in my DNA. This was in my genetics. It was in my genetics, in my DNA. And so you reproduce after your own kind. I mean, we have about, 1,500 entrepreneurs in our church. It's very interesting, and I have, an intentional thing to create that, to stimulate that. And for years, I've done a business program where we'll have a certain reward system of $25,000 that we give to the person who has the best business plan. Get some outside people, bankers, and different folks to come in and judge it for us. And listen, it didn't come from the church. The money, the seed money for that came from other business people. It came from other business people. You see, what gets rewarded is what gets done. What gets rewarded is what gets done. Money is a wonderful rewarder. It's such a positive encouragement to people. But what gets rewarded is that which gets done. And I do want you to know that there are certain things that have to come down through the generation. Some of this stuff started with my great-granddaddy who owned the chemical company. And my other fathers, my father's folks, they owned a whole chicken farm there with over 2,000 chickens. They sold the eggs, and many of their chickens, they sold the Campbell soup. And so we've been doing a lot of stuff in business before we ever got in the hair care business. And one of the reasons that my daddy went into the hair care business, he came to Atlanta back in the 1930s. Well, he was already here. He was not from here, but he was actually probably about 50 miles east of here. That's where my daddy was from. But he came to Atlanta, and he was in downtown Atlanta back in the 1930s. And he knew when he was 5 years old that he wanted to be a businessman, but he didn't know exactly what kind. And I guess one day he was praying, God, give me a sign. And guess what? He was in downtown Atlanta. He saw a billboard. Here's what the billboard read: the beauty industry, the depression-proof business. And it got my daddy's attention. My dad would sometimes go and visit people in the hospital. They could be dying with cancer, but when he would walk in, they'd be trying to primp on their hair and straighten the wig up and stuff, you know. They were concerned about what they looked like. And I'm telling you, I know some girls, some ghetto girls, some hood rats. I'm telling you, some skanks. I'm telling you, they will have their hair done and their nails done if their rent is not paid. I'm just telling you. you know. Now, I think that those are misconstrued priorities, but now because I'm in the business. And just let me say this to you. You know, we are a Christian business, but we don't have Christian in our name. We don't have praise the Lord on the window and on our business cards and all this kind of thing. We don't do that. You know why? Because if the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, we want to be able to appeal to them and be able to do business with excellence. So I would be in our store ringing the cash register when I was younger, and transvestites and transsexuals would come in and just buy loads of stuff. Do you think that I was going to start pulling my Bible out and start preaching to them and talking about an abomination in Leviticus 18 and Romans chapter? They would come right in, hey. I'd be like, come right in. Come right on in. They would buy wigs, makeup, stockings. I mean, they would have the works, nail polish. I'm telling you, I am telling you. And ladies, y'all know sometimes those folks can fix y'all hair better than other women. You know that. You know? They're some of the best cosmeticians, you know, so it's incredible. But we weren't there to judge them. Do you understand? A business is, you have to have something that creates a mechanism for exchange. There has to be a mechanism for exchange. Jesus taught us the principle: you gain by trading. You've got to have something to trade that the world wants, that is useful, that has been thought through. We're called to be an answer to a problem that is in the world. And so if life deals you lemons, make lemonade and sell it. I mean, you don't profit from it. Don't listen, if you go through sour experiences in your life, you may as well profit from it. You may as well get paid for your trouble if you can get paid for your trouble. Just go ahead and do it. So there are certain things, as I said, for many of you here, you're starting a brand new trend. You are turning the tide. You become the lamb slain for your household. You remember back in the Old Testament when they put the blood of one lamb over the doorpost and it saved everything in the house? You're becoming that lamb today. You're becoming that lamb for your family, for your children, for your grandchildren today. I'm glad. See, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. This didn't just start with me, and I'm grateful. So I've had broad shoulders on which to build, and they got me comfortable in an atmosphere so that I was raised with the mindset. I grew up in the household to understand a millionaire mindset, and you couldn't tell my daddy had money by how he dressed nor by what he drove, but he owned 21 homes, and he owned 1,000 acres of land. But you couldn't tell it by looking at him. You wouldn't know what he had. You understand what I'm saying? You know why? Because I heard a person, and Bishop Long would have to, communicate this because I don't use that kind of language. But but here's the principle, and he would know how to say this. I might need him to interpret for me right now. But the principle is that you never put all of your assets on your gluteus maximus.
What he said was,
Y'all know he can translate it. He really can. Can I give you a principle here? Whenever you do more than you are paid to do, soon you'll be paid for more than you do. Whenever you do more than what you are paid to do, soon you'll be paid for more than you do. Life is about principles. Principles are not gender specific, they're not race specific. There are people that tap into the principle who haven't gone to college. And if you work a principle, the principle is going to work. Now, in my sanctified backyard, if somebody sows marijuana seeds, because you reap what you... If I sow marijuana seeds in my sanctified backyard, in my sanctified soil, guess what's coming up? Not Georgia peaches. See, there's a principle. You reap what you don't reap what you intended to sow. You only reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. But let me say this to you. You've heard this principle taught many, many times, that those closest to you determine your level of success. They really do. Relationships, hear this carefully, relationships connect us to destiny. They are like bridges. They are like bridges, relationships. And wisdom is necessary to know which to burn and which to cross. Relationships, they connect us to destiny. David developed a relationship with Jonathan, who was a king's kid. It was through the connection, Jonathan became the bridge between David and the White House, the castle where the king lived. He was connected through a relationship. You've heard about the, 6 degrees of separation, about almost everything. You'll be surprised. The wealth of what you have is in your relationships. And when you're doing business, here's a principle that I've always lived by. When you can't afford to hire the best people, hire the people who are going to be the best. Give them a chance. Give them an intern opportunity. When you can't afford to hire the best, hire the ones who are going to be the best. You can see ambition and passion in a young person's eyes. Their willingness to do whatever it is that you ask them to do. The teachableness of their spirit, their passion, their spontaneity, their initiative that they take. There are certain things that you can see. But there are some individuals. I got rid of a young man, he was incredibly gifted. But this young man was so filled with iconoclasm and contumacy that
what he is saying is, they got a lot of stuff in them.
But in all honesty, I had never seen a young man who was so pompous and supercilious I hope that you don't mind my excogitating with you guys today. You have to pontificate every now and then. You know what, people, you really do. But please don't be set off by that, please. The reason that I use words help us to, words express thoughts, ideas, and feelings. If I don't have the command of the word, I have a trouble expressing the thought or the feeling. And see, women communicate generally better than men do. That's why men act out while women talk out. So a woman wants to talk about it, a man, he'll go upside her head. Men act out. Men have to leave and go for a ride or walk or do something. You know, we act out. We have certain things. We're not going to stand there and psychoanalyze and do all of this kind of stuff. We act out. But I have the ability to articulate how I feel to my wife. And so, you know, when I need to talk to her now, I tell people, my wife and I have never had an argument, but we have had a vigorous exchange of dissenting ideas. But now, because relationships connect us to destiny, they're like bridges, and you need wisdom to know how to discern which ones to cross and which to burn. Ask yourself, with the relationships that are in your life, key relationships that are in your life, ask yourself, what have they got me doing? The people that are in my inner circle, what have they got me doing? What have those folks got me doing? What have they got me doing? What have they got me listening to? Because see, the folks in the 1%, that mindset, that millionaire mindset, they listen to a certain kind of thing. Now, my cable has been out in my home, so that means I haven't had any TV in the past month. You know, now I probably, before it went out, I probably don't look at any more than maybe 2 hours of television a week. It's a mindset. You will not find folks with money sitting around watching a television. Now, you know that I am an etymologist and philologist. You do realize that. So when you even take television, tele means distant. Viz means to see. Shun means the state of. Television, state of being seen from a distance. What it does for us, it brings amusement into our lives. Say amusement. The word amusement, amuse, a is a Latin prefix which means not. Muse means to think. Ment is the state. Amusement, the state of not thinking. Are you listening? So there's a reason I intentionally don't watch very much television at all, because it will cripple your thinking capacity. You don't have to wonder what is going to happen. If you sit there, they'll show you. It might be a mystery, but it won't be a mystery for long. And they tell you, stay tuned. You don't have to figure it out. You can you know, speculate and do all of those kinds of things. But if you just watch long enough, they will do. But it can cripple the thinking. You won't find strong thinkers watching a lot of television because it doesn't develop your mind. So you need to engage in certain things. So that's what I'm saying. The folks that are with you, what have they got you doing? What have they got you listening to? What have they got you reading? You ask that question, what have they got you reading? What have they got? And I asked myself this question, what have these folks got me reading? And I asked, where have they got me going? Where have they got me going? See, when you run with the crowd, you get no further than the crowd. Birds of a feather not only fly together, they also go to the same destination. So where have they got me going? What have they got me thinking? What have they got me thinking, or what have they got me not thinking? And I'm not trying to say that you don't need a certain level of amusement in your life. I'm a very balanced person. I mean, I do believe that all work and no play makes Jack and Jill very dull. You know, I believe in that. Sometimes I come out here to DeKalb County just so I can go up to Stone Mountain. My wife and I will go and walk the mountain, or we'll go walking trails, we'll go bowling, I'll take her to a concert. I'm a very balanced person. You know, I don't want to be learning principles all the time. I don't want to be reading something with, you know, the substance. Yet sometimes you just need to just chill. Just relax. It's a part of the balance of life. Balance is the key to life. It's the key to life. What have they got me thinking? You have to ask the question, how have they got me talking? Have you ever seen your children be around somebody and then they come home talking in a way that it's like, we don't talk like that in this house. But where did you pick that up? How do they have me talking? Not only how do they have you talking, but what do they have you saying? See, that how do they have you talking? Be like, what's up, shout? Let me holler at you. That's how they have you talking. But now, what have they got you saying? You have to ask these questions about the folks that are in your inner circle in your life. And how have they got you feeling? How have they got you feeling? How have they got you feeling? Just some interesting questions just to think about it. But may I say to you, you destroy your own soul whenever you live in opposition to your core values. Whenever you live in opposition to your core values, you destroy your own soul. Did you know that